I think San Francisco has had politically and even within our Office of Economic Development a bit of a buyer's mentality. Companies are going to want to be here, residents are going to want to be here, businesses are going to fight to be here, and it's just our job to manage that. We're in a seller's mentality now. My office, the folks who work in OEWD are crystal clear that we need to work to bring people forward, not just small business, which we've always thought, but big business. We need to sell San Francisco and make it a place that people want to be and be competitive in our outreach to San Francisco. And that's just a mentality. It's a muscle that we are developing because it's a mentality we haven't had to have.
You had this long history in city government, then you left for a few years to be in the private sector. Now you're back in the city.
There's no way I would be qualified to do the job that I think this city needs done at this point in time, and that the mayor is asking me and our team to do without that private sector experience. It is something that you don't see very often in government, quite frankly, because pay scales are different. So usually you don't go from the private sector to the public sector. It's a labor of love for sure. But it's been a critical part of my background. And frankly, I was very lucky to be in commercial real estate, both during a period of positive growth, right, through late 2018, 2019, and early 2020, and then through COVID, to see how we had to react and pivot as the private sector to retain tenants, to try to figure out how to move forward in an uncertain development economy. We had to move quickly, we had to pivot quickly, and we really understood that, the bottom line was going to be changing rapidly. That understanding doesn't exist in government generally. As we all know, government moves slow, and part of that is by necessity. Public outreach, having stakeholders who are voters, you can't move as quickly as you can in the private sector. But the nimbleness that we have to operate in the private sector is absolutely critical at this point in time in the public sector, because we don't actually know what the ultimate view of downtown is going to be. We don't actually know how many of those offices we are going to fill back up, how many we're going to convert to residential, how many are going to be filled by a new university or a soccer stadium, or a Meow Wolf. And we're working every day to figure out, all of those directions and move quickly.
Do you think that there's enough realization of how dire things have become such that the city is now willing to think about things that it hadn't been in the past?
Yes, I think people do understand that things are bad. I do think, however, that we are still working to have common goals. They're, trying to advance and grow professional services, technical science, life science, et cetera, in the city is still not a goal of everyone in this building. And we see those as good jobs that complement and feed our small business sector. Not everyone does, and so it's not a universally supported thing yet. I think we are getting to a place of universal support towards housing, which is fabulous. We still need to do that on the commercial economic growth sector. As the fear of a drop in revenue from downtown, where we see most of our GDP generated, where we see most of our tax revenue come from, becomes a reality, I think hopefully that mentality will become a little stronger. Because we'll feel the hits at that point in time.
Is there a real effort to trying to make the downtown welcoming to folks, who are going to go home and then tell people San Francisco's not so bad?
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head. I mean, we hear almost universally in post-tourism surveys that people are pleasantly surprised by San Francisco, that their experience is better than they thought it was going to be, and the majority of visitors say they would like to come back.
Why do you think the whole country is so obsessed with San Francisco and our, imminent demise?
I mean, as long as I've lived here, we've punched above our weight, right? For a city whose population hasn't really ever tipped 1 million, right? We almost got there. The amount of international press, the amount of airtime, and frankly, the amount of space we take up in people's heads has always been surprising and fascinating to me. We try to cut through the noise and work for the people that are here and that we think we can come here, and not to spend too much time obsessing about why, whether it's because we are, a version of the Yankees that people want to see fail because we've been on top too long, or just because, there's political divides and we certainly represent the left side of the spectrum. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that the people who will put down roots here, who will grow a company here, that we serve them, and that they understand that we're looking moving forward with them in mind, and that we're not going to change just because there's a lot of noise around us.